All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to explore a really powerful new model for business, and it's inspired by one of the smartest creatures in the entire ocean. It's all about rethinking how companies can actually thrive in a world that just will not stop changing.
Okay, so let's start with a feeling that I bet is pretty familiar to a lot of you. The source material for this explainer kicks off with this great quote, and it paints a picture of the typical corporation as the Tin Man. Rusted solid, kind of stuck, just waiting for someone else to come along with an oil can to get things moving again. Sound familiar?
And this feeling of being stuck, it's not just a hunch. The data is pretty staggering. Get this. Companies have poured trillions of dollars into these massive transformation projects, and a whopping 88% of them just fail. They don't create any lasting change. That means only a tiny 12% actually make it. So what's going on here? Why are so many of these huge, expensive efforts falling flat? Well, the problem at its core is a massive mismatch. Our companies were basically designed for a world that, well, it just doesn't exist anymore.
This is where things get really interesting. See, the whole issue boils down to this difference between complicated and complex. Tin-man organizations, they were masters of the complicated. Think of a jet engine. It's got a ton of parts, for sure, but you can take it apart and put it back together. There's a blueprint, it's predictable. But we're not in that world anymore. We live in a complex world now, and that's more like the ocean. It's unpredictable, things just emerge, and you can't control it with a blueprint. All you can do is try to sense what's happening, respond to it, and learn as you go.
Okay, so if the Tin Man is rusted and stuck, what's the alternative? What does work in this complex ocean-like world? Well, this is where we meet our hero, the Octopus Organization, a new model inspired by one of the most incredible creatures out there.
So what is an Octopus Organization? Well, it's a company that's adaptive, it's curious, and it's smart, but here's the key. It doesn't rely on some genius CEO calling all the shots. Instead, it taps into the brainpower of all its people distributed throughout the company to sense what's happening and navigate all that uncertainty. It learns, and it learns fast.
And you can see how different this is in something we all experience, meetings. You know the Tin Man meeting, right? Someone drones on, presenting slides. It's all about just consuming information. But in an Octopus organization, a meeting is where ideas are created. It's about collaboration, exploring tangents. The goal isn't just to get through the agenda, it's to actually spark something new.
Or think about customer service. We've all been there. The Tin Man approach, the agent is just reading from a script. They're a process executor. They can't deviate. But the Octopus agent, they own your problem. They listen, they empathize, and they're actually empowered to solve it. And then they go and figure out why it happened in the first place so it doesn't happen to someone else.
And one more, innovation. In the old Tin-Man world, innovation is the special thing that happens in some separate lab over there. Then they hand it off to the business. In an Octopus organization, nope. Innovation is literally everyone's job. It's a capability that's spread throughout the company, especially with the small teams who are closest to the customer and can experiment and learn fast.
Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But does it actually work? The answer is a resounding yes. This isn't just some nice theory. The results are real and they are powerful. Look at this. Companies that operate this way, that are truly customer-obsessed, are 3 times more likely to lead their industry in revenue growth. And they're seeing profitability that's 23% higher than their peers. That's huge.
So naturally, when leaders hear this, the first question is always, okay, give me the 5-step playbook. But see, that's a total Tin Man question. Asking for a blueprint is the old way of thinking. Becoming an octopus isn't about following a recipe. It's about a fundamental shift in how you see the world.
And that shift really comes down to 3 big ideas. First, stop doing things to your people and start doing things with them. Big difference. Second, make learning part of the daily grind. Every task, every project becomes a little experiment. And third, and this one's tough, do less to achieve more. Instead of adding another process or another rule, ask yourself, what can we take away to make things simpler?
Okay, so let's get practical. How do you actually start? Well, the first step is to figure out what's holding you back. And then you need a new way to learn your way forward.
So, where do you begin? You start by looking for the things your company does, probably with the best intentions, that just consistently make things worse. The source material has a great name for these: anti-patterns.
These are basically the bad habits, the knee-jerk reactions that kill progress.
And they tend to show up in three main ways. You've got compromised clarity. That's when nobody's really sure why they're doing what they're doing. Then there's undermined ownership, which is the huge one. It's when people are treated like cogs, micromanaged, and terrified to fail. And finally, stifled curiosity. You know this one. It's when every new idea is immediately shot down. And the cost of these anti-patterns, it's just mind-blowing. Let's just take that one, undermining ownership. Treating people like resources instead of owners, that alone is estimated to cost the global economy nearly $9 trillion every single year in lost productivity. That is an insane amount of wasted human potential. So once you spot one of these bad habits, what do? You don't launch some massive new initiative. You use the simple little learning loop. It's 3 steps. 1, you make a guess, a hypothesis. 2, you run a small, safe experiment to test it. A lot of times the best experiment is just to stop doing something. And 3, the crucial part, you reflect, not just on what happened, but on why you thought it would happen differently. You question your own assumptions. Now, here's another really important shift in thinking. When an experiment works and you find a better way of doing something, the Tin Man instinct is to scale it, right? Force everyone to adopt it with a top-down mandate. The Octopus way is different. You let the idea spread. You just create the environment where other teams can see the success and decide to pull that new practice in themselves because it solves a real problem for them. It's a pull, not a push. At the end of the day, making this shift is a huge deal, especially for leaders. It's really less about learning new skills and more about, well, unlearning a whole career's worth of old habits. It's moving from being the chess master who moves all the pieces to being the architect who designs the system where everyone can thrive. It's about letting go of that command and control instinct to really tap into the genius of your whole team. So I'll just leave you with this question. What's one Tin Man habit, just one, that you could start to unlearn this week?